There was once a traveller who moved from place to place, and he would make baskets and pegs and sell them or exchange them for other goods, and particularly for food. So he would make things and exchange them for food, but he'd been doing it so long that most people had his baskets by now, so he was starting to go to villages where nobody was needing his goods, and he was getting less and less food as he was going through. And this particular night he came to a village, and it was a neat tidy village with neat tidy houses and well thatched roofs. And he went to the first house and he knocked on the door. He said, "Hello, I've got some baskets and I was wondering if I could maybe exchange them for some food." And the woman said, "Oh no, I don't have any food," and she slammed the door. So he went to the next house and knocked on the door and got the same reaction. And in fact, in every single house in this neat little village, everybody claimed to have not a scrap of food in the house, and certainly none to spare. So he got to the last house, and a little nervous, he knocked on the door. And an old man opened the door and said, "What do you want?" And he said, I've got some baskets and I was wondering if you could exchange them for some... Actually, I'm going to make myself some stone soup. I was wondering if I could get a jug of water from you." The man went, "Stone soup? What do you mean stone soup? You can't make soup out of stones. Don't be ridiculous." He said, "Well, I just need some water. I've got a stone back in my backpack, so could you just give me some water, please?" "Well, I'll give you water, but you're never going to be able to make anything." So the man gave him a jug of water and he went back to his cook pot and he poured the water into the pot. And then from his pack he took out a stone. Now it looked much like any other stone, but he made a big show of holding it up and looking at it and checking it, giving it a quick polish, and then put it into the pot with the water and set it by the fire to cook. And the man was still hovering around, got his jug back very quickly. "You can't eat that. You're not going to eat that. Surely you're not going to eat that." I went, "Well, yeah, I'm going to start making stone soup. Have you not tried stone soup before? It's the best thing ever. Like, seriously, it's the best type of soup in the world." "Oh, I mean, it looks a bit thin," said the man. And he said, "Well, yeah, it's a bit thin. I mean, if you had any herbs or anything that I could throw in it, it would just make it a little bit more flavourful." "Oh, I've got a few herbs growing around the back," said the man, and he went off and he came back with a big tub full of all sorts of different herbs and a little pot of salt, and they threw them into the pot and it started to bubble, and it was actually starting to smell quite nice. And the woman from the first house that he'd been to came out and said, "What's going on? I saw you put some sort of stone in there. What are you doing?" And he said, "Oh, I'm making stone soup." Stone soup? You can't make stones. Stones? Don't be ridiculous. You can't make stone soup." And he said, "Well, yeah, I mean, you can have some if you want." "Oh, I'm not trying that." He said, No, honestly, I'm quite happy to share. Although if you've got any potatoes or anything that you want to chuck in it as well, that would be good." "Oh, aye," she said, "I've got a couple of potatoes in the house. Just hold on a minute." And she went and got some potatoes and brought them back. By this point, a few people were coming out of their houses and asking what was going on, and he explained that he was making stone soup. And one by one, they all offered some other things to add to it. So they got some leeks and some carrots, and somebody had a hunk of ham that they had left over, and that got thrown in as well. And there was some cabbages, and all sorts of things went into this soup. And eventually they needed a bigger pot. So they brought another pot and another stone, and they added to it, and they added to it. And there was enough food to feed the entire village. And that evening, they sat down and somebody brought out the whiskey and somebody else brought along a fiddle, and they sat and they ate the stone soup. And it was the most delicious thing that any of them had. And the next morning, they got up and they all talked to each other and said about what a fine night it had been and how amazing that soup had been. And the traveller had already gone, and all he left behind was one stone.